Rara, a piano fairy, lost her mom when she was 6 months old. Her father, Mansu, the chairman of Rara Cosmetics, had visioned a talent in his daughter and appointed Maisuk as her piano teacher. There were multiple setbacks in the process of teaching, but eventually, Rara's talent flourished. On the day of the graduation recital, she made her father proud. But fathers' wishes for their daughters never end. He wants to walk her down the aisle. She got engaged to the gold diggers, Dr. Bang and his mother, Mrs. Jiakyung. On the day of her wedding, Rara is all set waiting for her father to come. The question is, why has the bridal bouquet not arrived yet? Because the delivery boy got into an accident. The bouquet flew up into the air and then fell into Jun's hands. Jun is an 18-year-old high school boy who works part-time at a construction site. And at the request of the delivery boy, Jun takes the bouquet and runs off to the wedding place. He lets himself in through the double doors to see the girl in her white wedding dress. His eyes are firm on her amber eyes. She is the love of his life. But Rara shuns him away, causing his nose to bleed. The red drops on ice-white tulle. She panics and brings him back into reality. He must fix what went wrong. And he patches up white flowers atop the stains. Rara's dad tells her that he's on the way to join her. But he gets a call and suddenly falls to the ground to death. What has compounded the pain is her groom leaving her, a bride in a white dress standing alone in the aisle, neither her dad nor the groom, and unuttered vows. She rushes out to her father while the tiara falls on the ground. At the hospital, she learns he has departed this life. What an irony. What should have been the happiest day of her life turned out to be a mourning memory of her own. The secretary Moon tells her that she better lie low and be off the eyes of the creditors of her father's debts. She only is given the key to the car that has remained of her father's property and an amount of money with which she may start a new life. In her grief over the loss of her father, she plays the piano for the last time. A good melody from her pampered life. She takes her Pomeranian dog, Mimi, with her. Rara takes an apartment on rent, but soon after, the owners knock on her door. She finds out that the swindler who took her money has escaped. With no other option, she ends up at her parents' grave, where she receives a message from an unknown person named the Star. The message prompts her to meet this mysterious figure, so she gets into a car. But on the way, she has an accident with Jun. While Jun sustains minor injuries, Rara and Mimi are in critical condition. In the hospital, Rara, with her hands in a plaster cast, opens her eyes and immediately asks about her dog, only to learn that she's at the veterinary clinic. Jun provides her with much-needed assistance, but requests insurance coverage. In response, Rara promises to pay him double once he helps her through this tough time and starts to feel somewhat secure with him around. Jun works double shifts and extra hours to cover Rara's hospital's attending expenses, but he has to be away for 2 days. This leaves Rara with depressing thoughts, fearing that he has abandoned her in her time of need. She implores Jun to stay with her, explaining that she won't be able to return his debt otherwise. Jun empathizes with her financial situation and questions how she can repay him. Rara suggests that she will fix the car, sell it, and use the proceeds to reimburse him. As a caring man, he takes the time to wash her hair. While doing so, Rara can't help but notice Jun's unique facial features and wonders if he has undergone plastic surgery. Recognizing her flirtatious thoughts, he playfully covers her eyes with her hair towel. Jun escorts her to his home, and Rara expresses doubts about liking it. He responds by mentioning that he'll add food and rent to her growing debt. Despite her reservations, Rara values having him around, so she accompanies him to his workplace. However, he instructs her to wait at his neighbor's salon. Jin inspects her expensive clothes, but Rara's financial situation prevents her from affording the services. Jun takes her to Nuna, Jin's daughter, who reluctantly allows Rara to stay in her home. The way they treat her makes Rara realize she isn't welcome in this house, which leaves her feeling sentimental and sad. In a fragile manner, Rara collects her belongings, uncertain of where else to go, but she still chooses to distance herself from them. When June discovers what happened, he searches for her and finds her in tears. He covers her rent, which upsets Nuna initially. However, upon learning Rara's story, they sympathize with her. In the morning when she wakes up, Rara finds her breakfast ready. Although she doesn't like it, she has to eat something because she's hungry. Rara wants to work as a pianist or piano lesson trainer and finds a school that needs tutors. The principal tells her that she can start working. Overjoyed, she tells June and Jin that she will pay them back because she doesn't like to be in debt to anyone. However, the question arises, why are these people after June? A woman who assigned one of her staff to find June at any cost. Rara's happiest news is that Mimi is fully recovered and back to her owner. But Jin does not want any dog in her house, so June takes her to his house. She says if he had another room, she and Mimi would have lived with him. The next day, she visits the doctor for her appointment. He removes the plaster cast, and she attends the physical therapy sessions. As for June, he collects money to buy a piano for her and play at home. One time, while she was playing during the night, an old man named Kim requested her to play the music track she was playing because his wife loved it immensely, and before her death, they used to listen to it a lot. She plays the melodies that touch his soul and tears come off his eyes. After a while, Rara's hands are completely healed, and she's ready to fight the world and begin her work. But at the Music Institute, she learns that there is no vacant place for her, neither money in her pocket nor a roof above her head, but June builds a bed for her. She wants to express her gratitude with the longest hug ever. Apparently, through the telepathy with Mimi, she stops. Rara receives an expensive piano, but she doesn't know the sender. Her passion is piano, and opening a music academy to teach piano is the Ikigai manifestation in her life. June suggests Rara Land as the name of the academy. She celebrates the launching day with music and laughter with her loved ones, and when the visitors leave for their homes, Rara shows him a coffee cup. She says it's her father's, and she's willing to give it to her future husband. Zealous from establishing the academy, Rara distributes the flyers and June comes along wanting to be her first student, and he pays the fees. Yum Seok, who wants to sharpen his skills, is the next to register. Rara, a face brightens. She says that his lesson will be at her expense, but June feels uncomfortable. The next day, June proposes they can use the umbrella for a casual stroll around the block until they reach home, but she says Yun Seok will take her home in his car. Simultaneously, the sky is thundering and the rain is pouring down. June seems unsettled and asks her to stay. Eventually, he let her go. Rara goes with the doctor, but somewhere not far, she asks him to pull over. She hurries back to June and says that she wants to be with him. The next morning, she wakes up to the cozy, delicious smell of food, her favorite breakfast. Kim, for whom she used to play music in the street, expresses his desire to become her third student and play the piano in memory of his wife. Not knowing that he is the owner of the academy, Rara frees him from the burden of the fees. June's jealousy grows on Unseok. He looks down at that cute face of Mimi and asks, "What should I do now?" Mimi transfers her suggestion. "Just talk to her, dummy." He calls her late at night, reminding her of her debt. As silly an excuse he came up with, but deep down in her heart, Rara is amused. June hangs up on her. The next day, they go to the maintenance company to get her car back. She tells June that she loves Jojo, her car. It's her beloved father's gift to her, but she needs to sell it and pay off her debts. At night, she and Mimi sleep in the car, her version of the farewell party to send off her car. The next day, while she is up to sign the contract, June stops her from selling invaluable gifts from her dad. Instead, she can be his chauffeur, and in this way, she will unburden her shoulders off her debts. He believes it is difficult for a person to lose something dear to them, like how he lost his best friend. He gets sentimental, and Rara picks the vibes and sheds tears of solitude for his loss. In a series of events that predict the revelation of Jun's background, Yoon-seok and Bang discuss a picture that is hanging on the wall in which Jun can be seen. He learns that Jun is the only son of the owner of the hospital and that he belongs to one of the most influential families in the city, and he will take over his father's business after he's graduated from school. Yoon-seok meets Jun in the restaurant, and in a gesture of knowing his background, he gives him a small wallet. Jun recalls that several years ago he had given the doctor this wallet that fell from him. Then he asks the doctor what's the point of all this. He replies that he should go back to his family and tell Rara the truth about himself. On the coast, Jun remembers the reason for all this cover-up story because his friend had died, and ever since, he felt that he was the reason behind his death. Jun embraced a state of severe depression. He was not even able to succeed in his studies. In the meantime, his father increased the pressure on him because he wanted him to become a doctor. Under such hideous circumstances, the psychological and familial pressures, Jun was forced to escape his home. In front of the academy, Rara notices a child passing by every day. She suggests he brings his parents so that he can learn music if he wants. The relationship between Jun and Rara deepens. His calls are lullabies that send her to sleep. She feels that all the world's problems disappear once she hears his voice. One day, she sends a text message to thank the star for gifting her the piano. She asks to meet him, specifying a place and time for that. She waits for him with Jin and Nuna. And whenever a man passes by, she thinks this is him, but to her chagrin, he does not appear. Upon checking his old messages, she thinks that there is a similarity between them both and suspects that Star and Yoon-seok are one person. She thinks out loud. Jun confesses to her that he's the Star. She doesn't take him seriously and thinks that he's being hilarious right now. She reads Yoon-seok's reaction closely upon putting him under her radar, and the result is he's not the Star. Rara comes across a kids' competition setting and wishes she could participate, but she does not have children. She remembers that kid who wanted to learn music with her. Somewhere else, Jun's mother, Yoon, tips Kim in case he finds Jun, and on her way out, she locates Rara, the abandoned bride, on her wedding day. The bodyguard is getting closer to Jun's place by collecting info from people around him. Jun meets Kim, who mentions that his mother bribed him in exchange for ratting him out. He hands over her money to him. Jun becomes worried now his mother is getting closer to his place, especially since he doesn't want to leave Rara. Yoon-seok asks Rara out to the cinema, and since she hasn't been to the cinema for a long time, she agrees. Jun learns that Rara is spending the evening with the doctor. No longer able to hold his emotions, he surges out and rides the bicycle to the cinema. But Yoon-seok is revealing his feelings to Rara, who sees him as no more than a friend. Embarrassed but saving face, he says he will always be a loyal friend, the one she can rely on at times of need. The minute he arrives, Jun pulls Rara by the hand. He says that the dinner must have become cold. That's why he came for her. She replies that his reason is illogical. He's already frustrated. Why is she testing his patience? Jun keeps talking to the innocent Mimi. What should he do now? He gets no ideas from her, which means she is fed up with the whirling story. Rara bakes heart-shaped cookies and sends the picture to Jun, who responds they are on fire like his heart. And because he is a diligent student of hers, she promises she will fulfill what he asks of her. He asks her to go out on a date with him. And on their date, he confides in her that he no longer can live without her scent, amber eyes, and innocent heart. She hands him her little hand, in a gesture that they're connected from the heaven above them. As for the child, he is ready for the competition. A stalker who has been rejected by Rara pulls the child by the hand as if he wants to kidnap him, but the child resists, which leads to a dislocation of his arm. The man escapes from there, and the kid doesn't want to bother Rara by telling her about the incident. On the stage, the child begins to cry because he cannot play with one hand. Hereupon, Rara remembers when she was a little girl, about to lose confidence in her abilities on the stage. Only then did her father stand up and applaud her. Her father is a source of inspiration even when he's no longer with her physically. To uplift his spirit, she claps for him, and everyone follows along and applauds the boy. After that, Yoon-seok examines his arm and puts it in a cast. Upon learning why he didn't tell her what happened to him, she says she is proud of him and holds a dinner party in his honor. During their chat, Rara receives a call and hurries outside, but she does not come back. Anxiety creeps into Jun's skin, especially when he can't spot her anywhere around, but hears her phone on the ground. He doubts a man Rara told him about, and off to his house where he finds a room full of her pictures. Definitely, he's one of the stalkers. He is a sociopath who sickly loves her. Jun searches his room once more and finds the address of his new home. The man ties her hands and asks her to reconsider his proposal, but she firmly refuses. In response, he becomes violent and strikes her forcefully. Jun finds Rara unconscious on the floor, and a rush of adrenaline surges through him. He fights him and accidentally hits his head against the edge of the desk. Jun calls Kim and informs him that the man is barely alive. The police arrest Jun, and upon investigating his background, they discover that he was reported as missing by his family. The investigator contacts Jun's mother urgently. Kim believes it's time for reconciliation and advises Jun to reach out to his family for help. When the mother arrives, she experiences a whirlwind of emotions, including joy, anger, and sadness. She questions her son's actions and urges him to return home before his father becomes aware of the situation. Nuna, learning about Jun's age from the officer, which is similar to hers, becomes determined to uncover the truth. However, her friend warns her that Rara isn't in the best of health, and discovering Jun's background might worsen her condition. Jun's mother visits the academy to learn more about Rara, but only finds Mimi there. She then seeks information from people who know Rara, including her neighbors and friends. They reveal that Rara and Jun love each other deeply, and Jun has gone to great lengths to help her, even landing himself in jail for her sake. Meanwhile, the bodyguard locates Rara in a hospital and informs her, upon her awakening, that Jun is just a high school student. He recounts the events that transpired, prompting Rara to muster the strength to go to the police and confess that Jun is innocent, taking responsibility for the misunderstanding. But Jun gets out of prison easily because of his family's weight in the town. Jun manages to call Rara and tell her that they will meet in a specific place far away from people, but his family gets a solid grip on him once again. Meeting his sweetheart is harder than reaching the moon. Rara is alone once again, but as a resilient girl, she dances the present moment itself. On the other hand, Jun loses his appetite completely and can't study. His mind wanders around the piano fairy. His mother hires a tutor for him who, after observing, says that there's something that nags him and keeps him away from studying. Jun tells his mother that he loves Rara dearly, but she is unable to stand such nonsense. On her side, Rara meets a dear friend of hers who has been absent from the scene lately, and that because of her brother's untimely death, she was unavailable for her during the darkest days of her life. Rara scrolls down the pictures of the deceased brother and finds Jun poses a lot with him only to realize that this was the friend he told her about. Rara receives a letter from Jun, and when she reads it, she cries a lot. Then she addresses Minnie again, asking her what to do with the love of her life. Does she need to play boxing with him? Mimi, the most peaceful creature on earth, intends to say, you should not resort to violence at any cost. At Rara Land Academy, Kim plays the symphony of his wife's death in piano notes. Everyone is touched by the melodies. They applaud his loyal love and talent. When she is by herself, she plays some notes and comes to her senses. She can't believe her eyes because Jun is standing in front of her. Jun had to plot his escape plan. A brief feint that took him to the hospital where he swapped the patient role with Lee and ran to Rara's academy. And now he is here standing and looking at her symmetric features. He explains that the age gap doesn't create a problem between them, especially when they're compatible and love each other. He tells her that his love story stretches back before their encounter on her wedding day. But before knowing her, the age gap stood effectual in front of him, and Rara emphasizes that he must study hard. Jun is in his home, studying and eating normally, which makes his mother glad and content. He often calls Rara to check on her and Mimi. As for Rara, she is exercising bicycle riding, upon which she falls and breaks her leg. And once again she gets her leg in the plaster cast. When Jun learns about the incident, he leaves everything behind and visits her. They have a good time in each other's company. Jun's mother visits her and says that he is a final year student in high school, which will determine his future in college. She says that she doesn't allow any kind of relationship for her son where the age difference is huge. She carries on saying that what is between her son and Rara is only a crush or a fling and nothing more. She has to leave him alone. Rara decides, based on this hurtful statement, to leave Jun out. She repays his debt to his mother by selling her car, of course. One day, she invites Jun to spend time together, as she wants to bid him farewell in this way. She gives him gifts, but each one is as if it is for a kid or a young boy. She wants to ride behind him on the bike. In this way, she will fill herself with his body scent, and he won't notice her tears. He returns with a rented bicycle to only find a letter she left explaining that he must move on with his life and leave her in the past because they cannot continue together. And 6 months have passed since their last meeting. Jun has a hospital appointment. In the waiting room, he checks the internet to find out that In-suk is going to marry Rara. And without much thought, he grasps Rara from her hand away from In-suk, and when they sit together, she asks how many times he intends to ruin her wedding day. He replies, "Once you're my bride, nobody will break in on your wedding day." But Rara wasn't marrying In-suk. All that was for the sake of advertisement for their new business. Nuna and Lee thought about a project of photographing weddings, celebrations, special occasions, and the like. They spent a huge budget on this project of theirs, and they convinced In-suk and Rara to pose as a newly wedded couple to advertise their project. But Jun, who is being no one but Jun, spoils the whole matter. The video goes viral on social media, and it does move people's sensations. Playfully, Rara says that every time Jun spoils her happiness, he must pay her a large compensation. He doesn't bother, just drives her home. He returns the car to her and says that she forgot the receipt with the money, and emphasizes that next time she must not pay off her debt unless she consults him, that he likes keeping people in debt to him. He checks on Mimi. Rara pins down a plan of not communicating until he finishes his studies and exams, and his unspoken words resonate with her plan. Rara wants to ask Kim about the star only to find him on the ground. And at the hospital she learns that he had a heart attack. Jun knows and calls her. She reassures him that his condition is stable, and then reminds him of their promise to not talk to each other. Kim's son visits him in the hospital, but the problem is that he intends to sell his father's property, including the academy and Nuna's house. Lee asks Jun to lend him money to buy the house they're living in, and they will pay him back. Jun visits Kim in the hospital and checks on Rara, but from afar. On his way back, he goes to her house and takes the cup she is keeping for her future husband. Jun's ex-fiancée is back. She plays all kinds of games on him to get him back. Jun's exams are over, and Rara now feels overjoyed because she can meet with him without inhibitions. She waits for him in their usual place, and waits for more. But he does not show up or answers her calls. What happened is that Jun's ex-fiancé gave him a sleeping pill in the car. And as Jun's mother says, she has to root herself in his life. One evening, Rara, wanting to check on Jun, comes to his house, but she met his fiancé, who tells her that she must forget him because now he has chosen a woman from his society. Rara returns home sadly, and when Nuna finds her in that miserable condition, she solaces her, saying, there must be a reason behind his bizarre silence, because Jun can't leave her in this sudden way. Nobody says a word about Jun in front of her, but she feels everything. Jun calls and asks to meet her, and they meet. He tells her that he has been accepted into medical school. He wants to forget her because he doesn't love her anymore. Rara, not believing what he is saying, wants him to repeat his words while looking into her eyes. He does so and leads her. Rara flips the pages of her memories, especially lately before they separate. Yet she doesn't realize why he's acting in such a way. She watches him from afar to learn that he is already with his ex-girlfriend and that he is preparing to study medicine abroad. But what causes the unbearable pain is that he passes by her and doesn't give her his attention, which hurts her greatly. However, life's wheel doesn't stop, does it? Rara's childhood piano teacher, Misuk, comes to visit her from abroad. She needed this delightful change in her life. When her teacher learns that she has friends and neighbors who love her very much, she is reassured about her condition. Somehow, Rara learns that Seok has bought the academy and Nuna's house, so she thanks him for preserving the academy. However, he says it's Jun who pressured his mother because he loves Rara so much. So his mother asked him to do that. But why Jun? Why all these riddles? Rara wants an answer. She has this inner feeling that all that he told her is a mere lie. She wants to know the real reason behind his abandoning her. She calls him, but he does not answer the calls, and she goes to his house, but he has left with his mother to the airport. Rara cries a lot and cannot find the answers to her many questions. The answer is something else. Something never occurs in our minds. Upon the doctor's checking, Jun is diagnosed with cancer. He's going abroad for treatment, but without promising results. That's why he wanted to end his relationship with Rara, so as not to make her sad or depressed. By chance, Rara discovers the Star Cafe and sends a message to Jun, informing him that she has learned he is the star and that she will wait for him until he returns from abroad. When he receives her message, he asks his mother to postpone the flight for 2 more days. He runs to Rara to tell her about the day he met her and how he bought this cafe to communicate with her, for her memory and his love for her. Rara says that she will not get rid of him easily and that she will remain in his life for a long interminable time. She takes him to the academy and they play music. Rara is glad that she made it through to meet him before he flies off to faraway distinctions. She says that her music teacher used to punish her sometimes with hugs and love, and that worked effectively. Jun plays some notes but pretends he fails. He wants his effective punishment from her, a clever way to indulge his senses with all of her existence in his arms. Jun wants to spend his last moments with her in happiness, never telling her about his illness. During the night, she washes his hair, as he had done to her in the past, and out of teasing her, he says that her features look weird and wonders whether she had cosmetic surgery. She says that her beauty is natural, and she throws a towel over his eyes. For the first time, she spends the night in his arms, and we don't know. It might be the last time. Then she drives him to the airport. She cries knowing he is leaving for a long time. He also cries, but he knows that it might be the last time he sees her in this life. While he is under the treatment at the hospital, she calls, and he feels strong when he hears her voice. But Rara feels something is wrong. He asks her to sing for him. She sings, and says that she is waiting for the winter break, so they celebrate Christmas together. On Christmas Day, everyone waits for Jun to arrive so that the celebration begins, but he is late. In the end, she receives a video message informing her that he has missed his flight and he cannot come anytime soon. In the video, Jun was playing piano notes. Kim, the old man, knows everything because Jun told him all the details of his illness. However, he can't say anything. Days fly by and Rara waits for the time he said he would come, but instead of him, his mother is in mourning black clothes telling her that he will not come now or at any time from now and that he has died. Speechless she is and can't believe her ears. Of course, she's not in the state of perceiving anything. Jun's mother says that she was the one who sent the music video to her. She thanks Rara because she stood by her son during his treatment and was like a window of hope in his life. Then she gives her the cup back and says that Jun asked her to return it because it's meant for her future husband. He dreamed of becoming the one in her life. Rara's principle in life is to smile, live in the moment, and laugh. But no, she cannot do that now because she is extremely sad and in severe pain. Jun's death was a huge shock in her life that she could not get over. 5 years have passed and not much has changed in her life. She is still at the academy teaching piano music. Rara is playing the piano and suddenly she sees Jun in front of her. She thinks at first that she is imagining him. She flinches at him. Is he real? There she says, hitting him on the chest, that he is despicable and why he left her for 5 years without saying a thing. He says that his treatment was long and that he needed all his concentration. For a little while, she asks again whether he is real or a ghost. But no, Rara, he is 100% Jun, the real one. They spend their lives together, despite the age gap between them. That did not affect anything. And they lived their lives happily ever after.